Hey, this is astrology for the week of November 26th, 2012. A full moon lunar eclipse this week in the early degrees of Gemini could send an emotional message that resonates with largesse and all things grand. As Jupiter lingers, continuing in retrograde, and sits within orb, that means within range, of the eclipse, it can bring a powerful, amplifying tone to the events. It is quite likely that words will be flying and investigations underway. Most events associated with this event will be huge. Eclipses do bring about revelations and epiphanies, especially with Uranus in Aries and in a square to Mars and Pluto. This is just like explosive. These can come quite out of the blue, literally, especially with Uranus involved. Literally, boom, like a bolt of lightning. And within the process. As with almost all Gemini events, communication, words, research are all typically involved. So we can expect those sort of discoveries, those epiphanies to come to light shortly thereafter. Perhaps that fiscal cliff we hear so much about is looming large and is unavoidable. Or are we under some sort of diplomatic assault? Something may surface that leaves an indelible impression. As last week provided a preview, we now see Mars and Pluto in direct conjunction this week. They are in top of each other, meaning they're at the same degree. As Mars moves on through Capricorn, this can be quite an intense period with passions and emotions running on the hot side, especially when we take into account the full moon lunar eclipse. You know, Mars, Pluto, full moon eclipse, it's a cauldron. Still within Capricorn, they might be tempered somewhat and tied more to a foundational restructure than anything else, because Capricorn tends to be slow-moving and foundational. As Venus and Saturn, though, cojoin at roughly the same degrees in Scorpio, these may form a pleasing and softer angle to the Mars-Pluto thing, and that may bring about a more of a duty-bound, responsible outcome. This could be seen as a sort of a foundational compromise of some sort, or a blatant outburst that yields a positive result. There is going to be some sparking action coming out of this, and it has to do with it has to do with communication. I do believe it has something to do with the election. True astrology comes from accuracy. Accuracy is critical. I can't stress that enough. It determines everything. If you know your birth time, then the accuracy is as clear as can be. Your rising sign and your sun sign, read them each week. You'll know exactly what's going on in your world when you subscribe to my newsletter at chris@chrisflisher.com. Listen to my radio show, which is podcast on iTunes. It's chris@chrisflisher.com. We have the radio show is Turning of the Wheels on Contact Talk Radio at 11 a.m. And the shows then, as I said, go to podcast. Contact me for a private reading. Chris@chrisflisher.com is how you get a hold of me. My website is chrisflisher.com or turningofthewheel.com. Thank you, and we'll talk to you next week.